right, so welcome to our first session today, the magic formula for boosting your year-end fundraising results. So thank you so much for joining and being here. You just heard a little bit about Community Boost, so I can move on over to the next slide and introduce myself a little more deeply. So I love, over the last 7 years, I've gotten to really equip nonprofits to scale their impact. And so today I host a lot of webinars, virtual events, and so much more that provide nonprofits with the digital marketing know-how needed to reach your goals and scale your impact. And we also have Michael Goodroom here, the Director of Client Service.
Hey, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks so much for especially those West Coasters turning out early. And then, hey, to everybody else as well, of course. My name is Michael Goodrum. I'm the director of our client service team here. I've been at Community Boost for almost 7 years and have seen 6 seasons of year-end fundraising across hundreds of different nonprofits. So could, of course, share a lot more about myself, but I'm just excited to get into the content today and to really get in, kick the day off of what you can do to further optimize and get results in kind of these growing uncertain times, right? Where we really want to knock this year end out of the park.
Thanks, Michael, for being here. All right, so we're getting started with a poll.
Yeah.
So our poll is, what is your experience with year-end marketing or fundraising? So are you like one of us who has tons of experience? I've been working with nonprofits for about 7 year-ends now. I think, Michael, you're the same.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got, the curious out there who, is the seasoned veterans, and then especially want to celebrate those who this is like your first year end that you're working through and here today.
This is really cool results too. So far, it looks like pretty evenly tied between like 5 plus years of experience, and also first timers in 1 to 2 years. So it's great that you're here. For the ones that are doing this for the first time, or maybe you're still new to the year-end fundraising process, you're going to get a lot of practical takeaways that you can use this year end. So this is the perfect place for you. And then also, for those of you with 5+ years of experience, we are going to go through advanced strategies that can help you really optimize your year-end results. So thank you everyone for being here. Catherine has 20 years of experience. Wow. So thanks for coming. So I want to kind of just dive into the high level statistics around year end. I think that this is a great reminder for those of us who have been in the space for a while, and maybe this is new information for those of you who are new to the year end fundraising process, but about 31% of all donations are made during the final month of the year. So December has 31% of the donations that come in all year. So this is your biggest opportunity. There's a lot of traffic coming through on your donation page, and the more that you are able to captivate these donations, the better. So 12% of all gifts are made in the last 3 days of the year. So even more so, thinking ahead on how you're engaging those last 3 days to capitalize on the high donation volume. Also, Giving Tuesday is only growing year after year. And I know that there's been a lot of conversations in the space, like, is this a good thing? Is this not a good thing? It's hard to stand out. But Giving Tuesday generosity is only growing still exponentially year after year, with over $2.7 billion donated on Giving Tuesday 2021. So I still think that this is a huge opportunity for organizations. Also, 53.8% of nonprofits start planning their year-end appeal in October. So if you already planned your appeal, fantastic. If not, you're not too late. It's November 10th. So this is the perfect time to get started if you haven't already. I also thought this stat was really interesting, that November and December are the most popular months for making year-end asks, but actually there's more year-end asks in November than in December. Super fascinating. So I think that there's something here where you might want to think about this when you are planning your communications, starting them sooner rather than later. And also, last but not least, 59.9% of nonprofits make between 1 to 3 donor touches for their year end campaign. And so when I saw this statistic, it hurt my heart a little bit because as a nonprofit marketer, I know that on average it takes about 8 touches to actually get those donors to complete their gift. So, whatever your plans are, the chances are, if you are like 60% of the nonprofits that answered that survey, you're not touching your donors enough and you're not reaching them enough to really secure the most gifts this year end. So, it's a few opportunities I want you to think about as we go into the year end season. So, for our agenda today, we're going to go over the magic formula for boosting year end fundraising results. We're going to look at the formula in action, learnings from Cancer Research Institute's $1 million year end campaign from last year, and then also dive into the practical implementation of this so that you get some clear takeaways for yourself and some Q&A. So, without further ado, let's get into the magic formula for boosting year-end fundraising results. So I think right now we are at a quite a pivotal moment where year-end is about to happen. But I do want to say that the cake batter, if you will, is already mixed. So what I mean by that is for all of your communications throughout this year, your audience building, your donor stewardship, all of the investments that you've made throughout the year are coming into play right now. So hopefully you stewarded your donors and you nurtured your audience. And now is the time to bake that cake and really create the perfect year end to maximize those results. So we'll be getting into a little bit more about how you can do that in a few minutes. So I would still love to hear from you a little bit more about how you've done this. So how would you rate your nonprofit's audience building this year? So we have great, we've been intentional about building an audience all year. Good, we've built an audience that's somewhat engaged. Could be better, we've grown our audience a little, or we haven't invested in building an audience. And then this also just gets us familiar with where you're at.
Yeah, and Candace, I wish I had a nickel for all of the nonprofit partners that have gotten in touch with Community Boost over the years in November, saying, oh, we our main goal this year end is new donor acquisition, and we'd like to get started with you November 15th and do as much new donor acquisition as possible. We haven't done any outreach prior to this all year, and I think that one of the number one piece of advice as people get this poll in that we can give is to invest in audience building all year round. It's so vital that when people are hearing an appeal from you, they also feel like it's kind of in a natural rhythm of a conversation that they've already been having with you versus kind of being the only thing that they hear from you all year. And it looks like we got the majority of people feeling it could be better, but it's done, we've had a little bit of growth happening, which is totally normal, right? Like that is, it takes time. It takes oftentimes like budget to actually do this well too.
Awesome. So we can close out the poll and get back to our slides.
Awesome. So yeah, if we think about our typical year end kind of pattern, or really like almost the pattern of any fundraising campaign, and then especially here as we think about year end, we're going to always ideally see a very large beginning time. My bubbles are in the way of what that part is called, but like the big kickoff, right, where we're pre-wiring oftentimes some of our donors who are closer in our circles, and we do tend to see Giving Tuesday and even like beginning of December come in with some of that initial excitement. And then we almost always see a big finish, right? Human beings want to be part of something that's successful. So if we are proving some success with our fundraising campaigns and our energy, people are going to want to jump on board, kind of bandwagon. As a Padres fan this year only, I can say I definitely bandwagon pretty hard there too. But the thing that we really want to pay attention to is the middle, right? Like that trough that's in the middle is where things can really slow. And if things slow too much, right, we kind of almost lose some of the potential of the big finish as well. And so if we go to this next slide, it's a pretty simple concept, but at the end of the day, we do want to really support that middle trough. And of course, the initial excitement and the big finish, but really focusing on that middle trough through digital marketing and advertising, and being extremely active and agile throughout the December period. And so, oh, Candace, is this you? I think it's you.
Oh, you can take it if you want.
Perfect. So, when we talk about fundraising, like I mentioned earlier, when nonprofit partners come to community boosts, oftentimes their mind is on new donor acquisition. So this first bullet point here, but I think as we know on this workshop here, there are a lot of ways to grow our fundraising, right? If we're talking about just total dollars in from a fundraising perspective, so of course acquiring more donors, meeting new people, triggering that first gift is definitely one way to do it. A very important way to do it. Then there's also growing our average gift size, right? And I think a lot of times, we'll talk about this more, but what you ask for is oftentimes what you get. And so, finding ways to actually ask for more and increasing that average gift size. Um, One thing that I think on this next bullet point on increasing donor retention always kind of makes me giggle is when we hear nonprofits say these are our donors. Um, like just this expectancy that without much effort, donors who have given in the past are going to give again. I think most people on this call, I certainly know those who have 20 plus years of experience, know that that is a fallacy. Um, Focusing on donor retention and actually, like, even earlier, talking about those 1 to 3 touch points during December is incredibly important. Increasing the lifetime value of those who are already giving to you is maybe the easiest way to grow your fundraising. And then, of course, like being better with your advertising, right? Increasing your return on investment, or even finding ways to achieve the same results by spending a little bit less budget is going to net you overall more in terms of fundraising. And so when we're thinking about year end, we want to come up with a plan that makes sense. We want the plan to be easy to follow, that allows us to like delegate tasks out to others, but also in a way that we can check in on how those tasks are doing. We of course want to come with some kind of process oriented approach that make sure that we're taking advantage of opportunities. We're going to share some of those approaches with you in just a second here. We want that plan to be easy to keep track of from a success standpoint, and then also to make sure that from the kind of front view of what the plan is, like, does this plan actually have everything we need to get us to our fundraising goals? And I think what this doesn't have on it is just being clear about what your goal is too, right? Even if it's daunting, it's like, oof, we might not hit that. It's like there needs to be some end marker to determine whether we won or we fell a little short. And so, of course, that next step is get building on that year-end marketing plan if you haven't already. And yeah, so for us, this is kind of giving away our playbook, to be completely honest. This is our year-end campaign blueprint that we use here at Community Boost. So if pretty much, I mean, maybe there's like a couple exceptions, but pretty much every client of ours that is doing year-end with us, we are applying this formula to. We do have kind of this like analyze and prepare period at the beginning. The one I really want to focus on is pre-wire and gratitude. So for about 2 to 3 weeks before Giving Tuesday, we are both doing very intentional audience building, where we're meeting people using like interest audience targeting, lookalike audience targeting, who could potentially have an affinity with what our nonprofit does, so that when Giving Tuesday comes around, it is, we have fresh new relationships that we've made. And then I think like my favorite part about what we do in terms of year end is the gratitude phase. Like very, very rarely do any of us ever see ads on some of these platforms, like Meta, Twitter, Display, like you name it, that are just thanking us for doing what we do and being who we are. And we do this period for 2 to 3 weeks where everybody who's in our nonprofit donor audiences are seeing messages of gratitude before we make an ask. And honestly, guys, we do this formula before any major fundraising campaign, and I highly recommend a period of time where you are spending some budget to just thank your donors. We've proven time and time again that budget that you spend there instead of spending it on your fundraising campaign actually has your fundraising campaign have a far higher return, and the overall net return back to you is greater when you do a period of gratitude. So that said, then we of course like launch into Giving Tuesday. We tend to run Giving Tuesday ads, of course, on the Tuesday itself, but then we also tend to do about the Wednesday through the Saturday or Sunday, oftentimes with language saying in honor of Giving Tuesday or in honor of the week of Giving Tuesday. And that also comes from, we've seen a lot of increased competition as Black Friday sales tend to go longer, as Cyber Monday sales tend to extend into the Tuesday and Wednesday. So we do just want to continue to capitalize. And there might even be people who, like, for whatever reason, just aren't on their phone that Tuesday, right? They got stuck with picking up their child from school plus 10 other things. And so we want to continue to make some of that Giving Tuesday appeal with that energy as the week goes on. And then, going to the next slide here, we do, of course, have our kind of core December fundraising like engagement piece there. And then I just also want to add the urgency, the big finish, right? Candace talked about 12% of gifts and 12% of overall revenue coming in the last 3 days of the year. Like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. And we want to be matching that energy with our communication and with our messaging, really building urgency in for our donors, and then even potentially contemplating making a segment of donors who you think might even be open to making a second gift and making targeted appeals there. But I would say just really thinking through how we can add urgency in for those last. We tend to do about December 26th through the 31st is when we hit our urgency. And then we definitely want to do a gratitude campaign in January as well to thank those that have given, and to basically share that year end was a success too.
So, we wanted to give you some practical tools to start mapping out what this looks like for you. So, we mentioned that you want a plan that has goals attached to it. You want to be able to assign specific goals to specific channels you might be using. So, we have this year end goal worksheet that will allow you to basically fill this all in with your data, your goals, and make it really easy for you to see what your goals are so that you can better implement them and communicate them as well. And same thing with this year end marketing calendar. It takes it a step further by helping you actually practically map out every communication throughout all your different channels, throughout different audiences. So it's all in one place. We ourselves use something like this to keep track of all of our communications so that it doesn't matter if it's you writing the email or one of your team members writing the email or whatever it is, social media posts, anything that you're doing, having it all in one place makes it really easy for you to delegate these tasks and actually implement this. So that's why we really do recommend getting the template so that you can start creating this for yourself. So again, like we want this to be highly implementable for you. And so we have this free template. I just pasted in the chat. So get your free year-end marketing plan and calendar template there. So let's move on. So let's look a little bit about the formula and action and learnings from Cancer Research Institute's year-end campaign.
Perfect. Thanks, Candace. Yeah, so looking at 2021, which oh my gosh feels like forever ago, we do see Cancer Research Institute bringing in just over $1 million in about 32 days here. So we can move on, but just almost like just a shot straight out of Google Analytics, just so that everyone can see it. And yeah, what I thought was really cool about last year's year end is of our kind of e-appeal. So I'm sure just like lots of people here break their different kinds of appeals out between direct mail, major gifts, etc. But of those where gifts came in online from non-major donors, about 48% of the gifts made were from new donors. And like that was, we were extremely proud of that as a team. And, I think a question of how is a fair one to ask as we run a workshop like this. So let's talk about it. So we already touched base on this, but for those of you who will see this deck later, this kind of breaks down more of the dates around that like gratitude pre-wire piece that we were talking about, launching into Giving Tuesday, which last year was on the 30th, of course, and then as we got into December giving, and then our urgency and remarketing period, which we've also discussed, just kind of more background there. For us with Cancer Research Institute, we were doing a variety of channels, right? This really helps with new donor acquisition when you're not just putting all of your eggs into one specific basket, because we do need oftentimes that 7, 8, 9th touch point during a loud season like year end to actually activate a new donor, right? Can be a little bit different for our existing ones, but for them, we were doing meta advertising, paid Google and Microsoft search ads. So that's like also advertising on Bing, on Yahoo, We were doing Google display ads, YouTube ads. We tested out Twitter ads last year, which were awesome. Their team executed phenomenal email marketing. Email marketing is absolutely not dead. It's, as everyone here knows, it's still an extremely important marketing channel. And then they were doing as well direct donor outreach, right? Like we talk a lot about digital marketing here, which is what we do at Community Boost, but also there is such important like offline game that your nonprofit hopefully is building too, in terms of direct outreach to your donors. And so, getting into 6 recommendations for year end this year that we're kind of taking away from Cancer Research Institute. First, oh, go ahead, Candace.
Oh, yeah. So our first recommendation is to really just optimize your donation page. This is something that over the years, every time I think about year end and then how much effort that you're putting into your marketing efforts, if your donation page is not optimized to convert all of that traffic you're driving there into donors, you are definitely missing out on donations. So, unfortunately, only 1 out of every 5 donors that actually gets to your donation page will complete their donation. That is the average conversion rate. So, you can make some tweaks to it to make this conversion rate higher, because if you increase the conversion rate even 20%, you're probably going to end up doubling your donations through your website. So here's a screenshot. I wanted to share a little bit more about what CRI is doing this year. They're actually driving monthly gifts through their donation page as well as one-time gifts, and I thought that that was really interesting approach. So driving long-term donations through their donation page as well. I also love that they have donation amounts set of different amounts that you can choose from. Pro tip: people are most likely to choose option number 2. So think about your donation page and think about maybe raising number 2 on your selected donation amounts a little bit. Easy, quick tool to increase your average gift size. Um, Also, a lot of times people will go to your website, but they can't find your button. So if you change your button from green or blue to red, make that button bigger, add it to the navigation, there's a 190% increase in donations when the button stands out on your homepage. Also, think about mobile. 58% of donors actually complete their donations on mobile. So look at your form. Is it optimized for mobile? Can people really make those donations easily? So think about that and take a look at that. Also, are you asking maybe too many questions you're while donors are making a donation? Conversion rates increase 50% when form fields are lowered from 4 to 3. So maybe think about what can be removed from the donation form so that more people can complete their donation quickly. And also, donors are 70% more likely to give again if they gave on a branded form. So make sure that your form has your brand on it, has your personality to it, has impact statements, has more about your actual organization, because that's where people are ultimately going to be completing their gifts. So all of your these small optimizations help you get more out of your marketing efforts. So went through a lot of those tips.
Yeah, I definitely want to highlight too one thing they're not doing on that page, which we're it's tough for Cancer Research Institute, but if you're able to include impact amounts, absolutely do it. Not just in your advertising, but also on your donation page. Like we're in this time where people, myself included, can just buy things with a couple touches of the button. Like we know exactly what we're spending our money on when we do things online, and the more that we can have our donation process mirror that experience where donating $15 does this for the world or for your organization. We want to share that with people. It is really hard with cancer research to say this donation amount does this for people's lives with cancer. It's hard to tie that, but if you're able to, definitely do it.
Yeah. I worked with this one organization that as soon as they added those descriptions to their donation form, their
Yep.
average gift size increased $100 like overnight, just
Yep.
by adding how much each gift size actually made an impact.
Yep. Candace, is that timer like we have to stick to it?
I think we can go over a little bit. So I
Okay,
have us actually stopping at 8:42. So we
great.
have some
Okay, perfect.
time. So our second recommendation is to use video in 2022. So short form videos generally work best. Video is everywhere right now. So basically, no matter what social channels, even on email, video is the way to go. And a lot of short form videos, so those 15 to 30-second videos, tend to get a lot of story across in a short period of time and capture our very short attention spans. So um, according to a Google survey, 57% of people who watch a video for a nonprofit go on to make a donation. So videos are directly tied to donation revenue. And I think that's just something to keep in mind throughout all of your communications, no matter the channel this year end. So another great thing is video ads help you win big. On Meta, video ads continue to outperform almost all ad types, especially at scale. And YouTube is the second most visited site in the world. So I do really think that YouTube remarketing ads are just an incredible way to build brand and stay top of mind during the giving season. What's also great is if you're even just posting on social media any videos, you're able to really easily remarket to those audiences that watch even a second of your video so that you can, again, like stay in front of them, keep top of mind, and get your audience engaged in your mission. And also, I really encourage you to write copy that moves people. And I feel like this is kind of a no brainer, but something that I see too often where during year end, you're so busy, there's a lot of things going on. It can get very asky without having those statements that drive people to give. So, one of the things that I really recommend is to tell individual stories in your copy. People give to people, they don't give to organizations. So if they can see what their gift could do for one person and actually assign a name to it, help more people experience the hope Kevin did, that, for example, that's going to help them visualize who their gift might be impacting. Also, matching campaign copy really does increase conversion rates. We do see that if anywhere that you're posting or sharing, your donation is doubled or your gift is doubled, really does perform best. Donors are likely to give 50% more if they know that their gift is being doubled. So keep that in mind and keep any potential gift matching campaigns in mind for your year end. And also, emotional appeals drive urgency. So, we see this all year round, but late in December, especially as the holidays are coming, emotional appeals drive further urgency. So, for example, too many people die from cancer every year. Donate to give a future to more families this holiday season.
Yeah, and I just if we could go back to perfect. Yeah, careful though with too much like generic matching copy. Don't don't fall into that trap of just like every piece of media you're putting out is like your donation double your impact. Like you still do want to add some emotional flair into it, right? Like especially if we're talking about new donor acquisition, like there needs to be some appeal of why your organization matters and is making a difference outside of just the donation doubling. Although of course that is important to highlight. I just want to we've seen that time and time again kind of fall on its face when that's all that we're saying.
Mhm.
And then the other piece I want to say here is with this specific ad that you're seeing and a kind of all the other ones that followed, this was a huge pivot last year. And we've done this a couple other times with them too, where we start with a certain theme and the theme kind of carries us through mid or like 2/3 of the way through December. And then we start to see things kind of peter out, right? Like that trough that we were talking about earlier, we start to see donations slow down and it's like cool, no worries, time for a pivot and a refresh. And then that's when we really go back to the roots of some of these emotional focused appeals, um, when we start to see some of what are kind of like new novel donation appeal, when we see that start to slow down a little bit. So I'd recommend you guys think through that too. If you're going with a theme or something new this year, if you start to see it slow down, don't be afraid to really go back to messaging that you know works for your nonprofit. And then, yeah, we definitely want to be leveraging as much free ad spend as we can, right? So, if you're on a community boost event, I would be stunned if you don't know what the Google Ad Grant is by now. If you don't have it, it's nothing. It is pretty simple to apply for. It's definitely not as easy as the Microsoft Ad Grant, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But the Google Ad Grant can really help bring mission aligned people through to your website to then be in sort of some of your remarketing funnels for these other channels that we've talked about today. It's yeah, they approve most nonprofits who are 501c3. So if you don't have it, absolutely get it. It's $10,000 per month and free search ads. It's amazing. And then the Microsoft Ad Grant as well. Microsoft just launched this recently. It's $3,000 per month for essentially the same type of platform as Google. It's just on Bing and Yahoo. We've run multiple webinars on this. We have other resources too. If this is new to you, the Microsoft Ad Grant is awesome. It's a different audience that we're reaching here. Oftentimes, a little bit higher average household income, a little bit older. And then we've seen, like this says here, just a case study for last year with Cancer Research Institute, where this channel, the grant didn't exist back then. So this was all our own money, brought in, over 5.5 times return on ad spend. So we're big believers in this channel. Um, And number 5, Meta ads, of course, this probably goes without saying at this point. But Meta is just an incredible platform where, like, literally, if we're thinking about our phone, right, we have one thing that we can see at a time on both Facebook and Instagram. It's just that, like, your attention is right there on whatever you're doing, and we have a chance to really tell our story. The targeting on these platforms is unbelievable. It's incredible. Tracking has gotten a little bit more difficult since 2021, but it's users' attention is still so on this platform, and the targeting is amazing. It's something that should be part of pretty much everyone's marketing mix if you're on this workshop. And then we are also big believers in paid Google ads, which means Google Display, and then also YouTube if you have the content for it. So pretty much, anybody who's doing any kind of advertising has some imagery, some graphics. You should all be trying out Google Display. It's a phenomenal way to ensure you are getting those 7 to 8 touch points in as users are reading articles on CNN, or they're on whatever cooking blog page that they like to be on. And then if you do have that video content, YouTube is just an excellent way to make sure we're getting very deep touch points in a world where commercials are almost dead. You can still have that FaceTime with a longer video through YouTube ads. Yeah, I see some questions coming in that are good, but we can maybe do that later.
Yeah,
Um,
there are so many great questions. I want to remind you that Michael is going to be in the lounge. So if we don't get to your questions now, because we are running up on time, go to the lounge. This is the perfect place. We can actually just have a conversation with you. So you join on
yeah,
camera, you can use your video and audio and just chat and actually chat through all of your fantastic questions. So I really encourage you to do that. So I know we went through a lot of things. The great thing is that if you want to learn more about any of the channels that we talked about, we have 9 more workshops today that are diving into those specifics for a lot of them. So this was pretty high level, and now is your opportunity to go really deep and get even more of your questions answered and attend the other workshops to help you really implement these learnings. So I also want you to keep this in mind. So, for all of you who are maybe doing year end for the first time, this could sound overwhelming, right? But if you are not able to do all of these amazing things, I just want to boil it down to a few simple things. So, keep in mind, November 29th is Giving Tuesday. That's going to be a big day that you want to do some pushes before and on, as well as the last 3 days of the year. If you can do nothing else, at least one email communication a week, and with 2 to 3 emails right at the end of the year to drive more donations. Um, Something else to think about: try to do at least 3 social media posts a week. But we really do recommend exploring reels as well, and stories. So factor in maybe a few more if you're including that into your plan. Also, strong CTAs are going to make a huge impact no matter what channels that you're promoting your year end fundraising on. So, donate now, give today, make a gift, and learn more have all really been proven to be really great call to actions. So just think about that when you're crafting your communications. Support us is always like a little vague. People don't exactly know what you're asking. So ask for what you want. If you want them to donate, ask them to donate. And also, ads are meant to be optimized. So if you're doing any of these ad strategies, don't just set them and forget them. Keep going back, see what's performing, see what's not performing, and you can, turn something off or increase budget on things that are driving results. So hopefully, you are ready to dive deeper into these strategies and ready. Um, Winter is coming; it's almost here, so you got this.